this is not, once again, here with just a little bit of information here about TOS and Demonology and such and such. So we're just going to be going over some of the fights in Team of Sargeras, what kind of talent recommendations I would have for each fight, and kind of going from there. Just kind of giving everyone an idea as to what to expect as far as Demonology goes in Tomb and 725. So first and foremost, let's just go over some of these bosses here. So the first one you come across is Goroth. It's actually a fully single target boss, so you'd run complete meme spec on this fight. Not really anything other than that to really say too terribly much about this fight. There is some movement, there's also a lot of standstills, so Demonology should be able to really shine on this fight in regards to just the mechanics in general for the fight. So that'll be a fun boss for Demonology. And this is the talent setup I would run, full meme. If you're just learning how to play meme spec, or you are really not comfortable playing it, you can take the marginal DPS loss and play Demonic Calling, but the rest is the exact same. So it loses out on a little bit of movement, but overall, you are still going to be rinsing things. Demonic Inquisition is a fight where there are quite a few adds actually that occur throughout the fight, and there's also a lot of two-target boss damage, I would say. The only thing with that is there is restrictions on when you can hit both targets at the same time. So for the most part, you're going to want to play a little bit of a hybrid build, and you're going to probably want to play either SI or Demonic Calling, probably either one of those. You're likely going to play Improved Dreadstalkers, just because there is a lot of adds, but the two-target that occurs is mostly actually single target. And then you can play Hand of Doom or Power Trip with Soul Conduit and then Grimoire Service. Pretty simple as far as talent setup goes, so that'll be a good, interesting little fight here. Now, with Harjatan, there is definitely a lot of single target with a lot of intermittent ad cleave. So, from my experience and looking at the fight, we'll likely be playing something more ad cleave, but still focused with single target. So think of more of like a Mythic Plus build. So you'll probably be playing something more like Impending Doom, depending on how long your ads are living for your raid comp, or Improved Dreadstalkers. Demonic Calling or Shattering Inspiration, same thing here. You're basically going to be playing Hand of Doom, especially if you're playing Impending Doom for hitting ads. Grimoire Service, and then Soul Conduit, and then depending on how long your ads are living or how many people are focused on these ads, Soul Conduit or Summon Dark Glare would be viable options here. Either one of those two. So that'll be a little bit of variance, which would be good. Moving down to Sisters, you're going to be looking at basically full single target, and then splitting off into two target. So you have to prioritize within your raid and your comp to see what would be most beneficial for you to play. If it's going to be mostly focused in single target, you can play complete meme spec, of course. Alternately, if you're playing more towards catering in the two target, like actually cleave, for example, you can either play Soul Conduit or Summon Dark Glare with Hand of Doom or Power Trip, and then either one of these two. So there's a lot of variance and a lot of ability to kind of play whatever you want for the most part in terms of spec, mostly dependent on your raid comp. If we move down to Mistress, there is a lot of boss damage in this fight that is very important, so you may be relegated to playing full single target. There is, however, a lot of ads with lots of cleave, like a lot of it. So it may cater towards playing Hand of Doom and Impending Doom. It may also cater even towards playing Implosion with, say, Synergy, Hand of Doom, and like Dark Glare with probably Shadow Flame or Demonic Calling. Or playing Soul Conduit with Service and Impending Doom, like standard Mythic Plus. There will be a lot of variance depending on your particular raid comp. So I don't really want to specify one particular thing to use based on that. So definitely take a look at your raid comp and then determine what would be the best kind of talent setup for you as far as playing Demonology. We come down to Desolate Host, so there's two phases, or two zones basically in this fight, so the living zone and the dead zone. Depending on whichever end you're on, you'll likely be playing the same spec no matter what. When I was doing testing on this fight, I found a lot of success playing with Grimoire Synergy or Service, so kind of a little bit of a mix-up, or a little bit of a toss-up between either one of them. I found the most success playing with Summon Dark Lair, simply because there is a lot of 3+ target cleave. Impending Doom, again because of the 3+ target cleave, then Demonic Calling and Hand of Doom. So that will give you a very good idea and a very good expanse. So if your raid needs a more burst in the cleave phases of this fight, Grimoire Service is going to be better. If it needs more consistent damage throughout the fight, you'll likely go Synergy because you're playing Dark Lair. So anytime that Dark Lair is up, you should be trying to play it around a little bit of a Synergy proc as well. If we move down to Maiden of Vigilance, there is a lot of single target. It's basically all single target, with damage buff period after the whole dancing part of this fight. So basically what you want to be doing is you want to be playing full single target. So completely single target here. And you will want to play around the damage buff. So you'll likely be able to get 2 full Thalkill consumption rotations. And then you could kind of go from there. You hold your Thalkill until you get the damage buff, or enter the damage buff period of the fate, and then unleash all of your cooldowns. So you'll be able to use Grimoire Service on the pull, you'll be able to use Doomguard on the pull, and for the damage buff period, you save all of your cooldowns. And you just unleash your wrath upon the boss. It is completely single target, and there is very little movement on this fight for the most part, aside from the dance phase, but everyone is dancing at that point, so it's not really going to be a detriment for you to be moving. So this will be a very strong fight for Warlock as well. Fallen Avatar is all single target with a lot of burst, periods and a lot of burst phases, with some ad swapping. In general, unless your raid comp specifically needs cleave, you'll be likely designated and relegated to use full single target. However, if you are more focused or more centric towards the whole raid focusing on the ad swapping with the burst, you'll be playing something more like this. Oh no, Synergy with Dark Lair. Likely be playing, you can even play Soul Harvest, it would be a possibility here, Soul Harvest. You'll likely, however, be playing Hand of Doom or Power Trip. And then Improved Dreadstalkers. You may also be able to get away with some shenanigans in Implosion as well, simply because you can build your imps on the single target that you need to be DPSing, so on the avatar, not the maiden. And then when the ads come out for burst, you howl your imps out, and then you use Implosion to contribute to the burst. This would facilitate playing Soul Conduit fairly well instead of Dark Lair. So this may be what you end up running long term as far as overall damage without using Implosion on the boss. So you still have your single target, but you also have your burst ability with Implosion. This leaves us with the final boss of Tomb, which is Kil'jaeden. I didn't really do too much testing on Kil'jaeden myself, so I'm going to be basing most of my opinions on things I've seen in testing and things I've read about the abilities. So you'll be looking a lot of either spread cleave or light clumped cleave. Spread cleave, you will be, if your strat revolves more around the spread cleave, you'll be playing with Dark Lair, you'll be playing with Impending Doom, and you'll be likely playing with Synergy or Service, one or the other, with Hand of Doom. If you're more looking at clumped cleaving, you can play Implosion, because it has a fairly large range, 8 yards. You can play Soul Conduit, with Synergy or Service, and then Hand of Doom or Power Trip. So I didn't really get to see or read too much about Phase 3 in particular, but this is likely what you're going to be looking at playing in general. Either something like this, or you'll be playing something like this. Something towards that effect. Power Trip may come into it as well. Again, it also depends on your raid comp and what your particular raid needs. So that pretty much covers all of the bosses in a short little explanation for each one. As far as gear goes in Tomb, you'll be obviously focusing on some of the trinkets in here. If you have a Whispers, anything between 895, I would say, and up to 915, you'll probably be okay to use Whispers throughout the rest of Tome, along with Charm, simply because Charm is ridiculously overpowered. If you are unsatisfied with Whispers and the RNG of it, you can look into grabbing a Tome of Unraveling Sanity. It will also be very strong, and I know it sounds weird, but the double on use is still strong, which is actually ridiculous when you come to think of it. The other strong option is playing with Terror and Charm, or playing with Tarnished Sentinel, Medallion, and Charm. The common theme in this, however, is that you are playing with Charm basically the entire time. Legendary-wise, you'll be looking at basically playing with this Hunter Gun. So you'll be likely playing with Wakener's Loyalties simply based on the fact that the Tear Helm does not have any haste on it. So if I look at it here, Tear Helm, no haste on it. Tear Shoulders do have haste on it, and RR is kind of in a little bit of limbo right now. So depending on the fight, and depending on your other gear and off pieces, you'll likely be playing with Wakeners and either Willifred, Recurrent Ritual, or Kazakh. Those would I say would be the 4 that you're going to be building around. If you don't have Recurrent, it's not the end of the world. You can still play with, say, Wakeners and Willifred, or Wakeners and Kazakh, or even Kazakh and Willifred. Everything is very, very, very balanced at this point in terms of legendaries. So it really depends on your off pieces, and depends on what pieces of gear you're looking to kind of focus your build around, or what you're trying to play around for the fight. So you definitely have a lot of options in terms of legendaries, which is very good. The other thing to take note of is relics. So as far as relics go, you'll obviously still be wanting to try to concentrate yourself around Infernal Furnace, Demonic Empowerment, so Summoner's Prowess, or the third option to kind of look for is the one relic. Where is the relic here for... Oh, of course. There's a relic somewhere in here for Left-Hand Darkness, right here. So this is the Left-Hand Darkness relic. This is also fairly strong as soon as you start adding multiple targets, and then Doom, of course. The gap between relics is very, 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 very reduced as opposed to what we are used to. So it used to be that Infernal Furnace was 15 to 20 eye levels gain over a non-damage relic. Now it's more looking like a 10 eye level difference. So in the top spectrum, you're looking at, say, you Titan Forge everything, so you're looking at like 955 IF, and then 950 IF, and then you're looking at like Summoner's Prowess, 955, and then 945 IF. And then all the rest, like Left-Handed Darkness, Sharpened Red Fangs, everything else is very, very close. Everything is well within 1 to 2% of each other. So for the most part, you're safe to take eye level over relic trait, as long as it's something that's actually contributing to your damage. So this is basically my 725 little overview, giving you a little bit of insight about the legendaries and relics and tier boss fights. I hope you guys are finding this useful, and I hope to see you on the flip side.